Welcome to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. There are many barriers to achieving metabolic health, some of which are a reminder via my acronym, my nest and rope. Those barriers include inadequate sleep, lack of exercise, or even being in unhealthy relationships. But did you know that your zip code may be one of the biggest determinants of whether you live a long life? In Chicago, where my clinical practice is, we have neighborhoods like Inglewood, where the life expectancy is only 60 years of age. And then we have neighborhoods just north of downtown Chicago, only 9 miles away from Inglewood, like Streeterville, where the life expectancy is 90 years of age. That sparked my curiosity. So I looked up the life expectancy by state in the US and found that the top five states for life expectancy in order of highest to lowest was Hawaii, California, New York, Minnesota, and Connecticut, all enjoying 81 to 82 years of life, while the bottom five states in order of shortest life expectancy was West Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, and Arkansas, with life expectancies equal to or less than 75 years of age. Today's guest and my wife have roots in Mississippi, which is ranked the second worst. So this touches home for me since we still have a lot of relatives who live in Mississippi, and because today's guest was able to overcome his zip code barrier related to Mississippi and achieve metabolic health in spite of that. Today's guest is Chuck Bates. Chuck, with some lifestyle changes, was able to restore his health in a very short amount of time. In fact, so quickly that it may provide hope for anyone looking to restore their health in a quick amount of time. I was introduced to Chuck by the Black carnivore, A-Day Fox, who interviewed him for her channel. You should check that out as well. And I definitely want to do a shout out to A-Day Fox for that introduction. And with that, Chuck, I welcome you to the Protecting Your Nest podcast.
Hi, how are you doing, Dr. Hampton? I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to have you and just inspired by your quick turnaround, your quick recovery, and I think sharing your story is going to be important because it sounds funny, but some people are just trying to get ready for the wedding dress, for example, right? Everybody has these New Year's resolutions, and some people think it takes forever to achieve metabolic health and to heal, but I don't think it's always true for everybody. So it's nice to hear stories where it took, maybe a couple of years and stories where it took only a few months. So let's get started. Let's have a conversation, and let's start by you sharing who you are. Let's talk about maybe the type of work you do, what you do for fun. Let's get started that way.
So I was born and raised in Natchez, Mississippi. I went to a high school there. After high school, I joined the military. I was in the military for 2 years. And then I went back to Mississippi to go to college. And I graduated college um, in 2003. I graduated college. And then I moved to Dallas, Texas.
Hmm.
Lived in Dallas, Texas for 13 years. I raised my son there, and after my son graduated high school, I um, I stayed in Dallas maybe a year, and then I moved here to California. So I've been in California for 6 years
Oh,
now.
wow. So out west, so you went from a place where the life expectancy was the second worst to the place where it's the second best. Wow, that's interesting. So thank you for giving us a little background. And when I think about Mississippi, there was this great migration. Some people may be aware of it. And that great migration involved African Americans from Mississippi and in the South in general coming to the North between 1916 and 1970. And more than 500,000 of the 7 million African Americans who left the South actually came to Chicago, where I currently practice medicine. So let's talk a little bit about, it sounds like you were born in Mississippi
Mhm.
and then you eventually left, but you spent most of your time there. What type of memories do you have of life in Mississippi?
Well, it's where I'm from, and I'm always going to have that connection to Mississippi. My mom is still there. My mom and my dad, and I still have family members still there. It's where I went to college, so I'm always going to have that connection to Mississippi. I don't ever want to live there again, but for political reasons and just the atmosphere and the ways of lifestyle, I don't want to live there again. But I still have memories there, and the nostalgia is still there. So I I'm going back there this week actually.
Mm.
So I love it because of that reason, but that's the only reason because of the memories.
Yeah, family memory. My
Mhm.
wife, kinda sounds like a kind of response she would give. It didn't seem like there was as many opportunities. You know, us being in healthcare, there's opportunity anywhere because you always have doctors, and my wife's a pharmacist, but it just seemed I remember going downtown in Jackson, and it didn't feel like a downtown, you know, it was just kinda isolated, didn't have much going on, and, so I think when people are looking for opportunity, it may be not as much there, but there's also the food, and you ended up in Dallas, Texas, so you're still in the South.
Yeah.
So when you think about um, the foods that you enjoyed back then, maybe you're not eating that way anymore, but what types of foods do you have memories of that Mama made and the rest of the crew?
So my mom, I mean, she's a great cook, and so fried chicken and rice and gravy was my jam. That's what I used to eat. That's
Mm,
every time I went home, I had my mom to make that for me. I
that's right.
grew up eating gamey stuff. We ate squirrel, we ate raccoon, we ate
Mm,
chitlins, we ate, all types of food there. And it's so good. You just, back then you didn't think about it. You just ate it and you didn't care what it was then. Now, if you tell somebody you eat a raccoon, it's like, no, I'm never going to do anything like that. So, but yeah, it was so good. And that's the food I'm used to eating. Everyone in my family were great cooks, and so
mhm.
you would eat those things, and the food is what ties you to Mississippi. It
Yeah.
keeps you, you know, it makes you want to go home.
That's right.
So
Did you ever hunt yourself, or was this just family gathering those critters?
I've never hunted myself. My grandfather hunted, and my uncle hunted, but I never hunted. I did fish. I did go
Mm,
fishing.
okay.
I did do that, but I never did really much of hunting or anything like that.
That's cool. I actually, I shared with you before we started that my father-in-law is kind of hanging out, watching TV while I'm recording, and he's a true country boy, and yes, he has mentioned many of the wild game animals that they ate over the years, and luckily, for those who are listening or watching, as you move towards protein as your primary fuel source, you can still eat those things. In
Yeah,
fact, anything from an animal is still fair game. So I think that's going to allow you to still kind of pick and choose. I know sometimes when you visit, you just kind of break the rules. I tend to follow my low carb rules, but I have to kind of see what's coming my way. So I
yeah,
always ask family, so what you guys gonna prepare? And oh, by the way, can you not put barbecue sauce on that? Or by the way, if I'm eating because I'm more of a ketovore, if I eat a vegetable, is there something non-starchy on the menu like green beans? So I try to kind of prepare them for what my needs are while honoring the culture, which I think is very possible as we make these changes. So let's talk a little bit about the changes you made. Um, I know that it sounds like from my research that you kind of did some plant based things before you started moving towards more animal based. But talk a little bit about your journey going from, the previous dietary plan that was not serving you to the current one.
So I've always yo-yoed up and down with my weight, tried so many different diet plans, trying to beat that, whole Mississippi stigma of, how you eat and everything. So I always tried to do better, with my health. I think I gained most of my weight during college. Um, Back in 2004, I discovered Atkins, actually.
Hmm.
And I did Atkins for a little while. I lost weight, but then you start to hearing all the dogma that's surrounding the
Hmm.
diet that your heart is going to explode and your cholesterol is going to go up. And so I stopped doing the diet. So I didn't do anything for a while. And then in 2011, my dad had a heart attack.
Mhm.
And so when he had a heart attack,
How old was he?
my dad in 2011, that was what, 11 years ago. So my dad would have been 59 at the point.
Okay. Man.
So, yeah, he had a heart attack. And that kind of scared me because I was on that same path. My weight was up, um, blood pressure was high. I was headed toward diabetes. So I wanted to start to do more things to improve my health. I joined the CrossFit gym. That was stressful on me, my body wise, because it was pain all the time. And then I discovered the paleo diet through CrossFit. And so I did the paleo diet. And, I would start to see benefits then, but then I couldn't sustain it because going to CrossFit every day was tearing my body up, actually. I was in pain all the time.
Mhm.
So I stopped CrossFit, and then again I stopped doing stuff. I would go to the gym every now and then, never lose weight, but only trying to not just get totally out of hand.
Mhm.
So fast forward 2020, I watched the What the Health documentary on Netflix, and I decided
Mm.
to go vegan. And when I decide to do something, I go all the way in. The very next day, I said, I'm going to be vegan. This has to be what needs to help. I need to stop eating meat because I'm getting big. I'm like, I don't want to keep getting big. This is going to help me. So I was vegan for a year and a half. I,
Mhm.
I didn't eat meat. Um, I cut out dairy. I cut out everything. Um, but I didn't lose any weight. I didn't lose any weight at all because when you take out meat, you're increasing your carbohydrates. You're eating more grains. You're
Right.
eating more beans. I ate beans and rice all the time, and I was always hungry. I would get up in the middle of the night, eat, 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 and I was always hungry. And so, 2021, at the end of November 2021, I said I was going to start eating fish, go pescatarian. Maybe that'll help me. And I started eating that. I blew up to 311 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, 311 pounds. And I was like, my partner and I, we went on vacation in this past March. And it was on my birthday. And a waiter took a photo of us at the table. And I saw myself. And I was like, I have to do something. It has to be
Mhm.
something that I can do to improve my health. I looked horrible. And that picture changed everything for me. So when I got off the when we got on the plane, I downloaded the book "Unlocking the Keto Code" by Stephen R. Gundry, and
Mhm.
I read that book. And when I got back home, I hit the ground running. I started watching YouTube videos. Um, I came across Thomas DeLauer. That was when I searched keto, and I started following him religiously. Um, I immediately started to lose weight by doing the things that he said to do. Then I hit a weight
Mhm.
loss stall, and I'm back on YouTube, weight loss stall keto. Then I come across Dr. Ken Berry, and when I started to listen to him, he suggested doing carnivore
Mhm.
to break that stall. And then I didn't want to do it. I was like, man, I can't just eat meat all the time. I can't do that.
Mhm.
That's not happening. And so I wouldn't break my stall. So I said, let me try this. I'm going to try it just
Mhm.
to see. And when I went carnivore, everything just started falling into place. Everything
Wow.
started falling into place. I started losing so much weight. I started learning more about metabolic health and
Mhm.
about how you maintain um, your weight and fasting. I started doing all of that. And by the way, that's how I met Ade through
Hmm. Gotcha.
Dr. Ken Berry because she was on his
Mhm.
podcast or his YouTube video, and I saw her, and I started following her because I didn't see a lot of black people in that space. All I saw was like
Mhm.
Sean Baker and Mark Smelly Bell, and
Hmm.
Joe Rogan. I'm like, I don't see
Right.
any people in that space that look like me. And so it was a breath of fresh air to see A Day and her journey with it. And so I started following her. And ever since
That's
then, I
excellent.
just started I'm in the community now, and I kind of been indoctrinating myself with,
Hmm.
books on keto, on fat, and all of that stuff. So that's my journey. That's how I said now I'm all in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you, one of the reasons why I wanted you to come to my channel is because of what you just said. Not enough diversity in the space. That's going to change, but the diversity comes from the testimonials. It comes from the coaches. It comes from the nutrition professionals. It comes from the doctors, pharmacist, whoever has a testimony, it'll matter. And then periodically, for some people, um, there's this comfort with seeing somebody that maybe looks like you, and that's just any culture feels that way. So I think that's totally okay. And we enjoy all the teachings from everybody. I really appreciate when I think about your beginnings. I had a similar experience when I did a plant based, and then I discovered the research that one of the studies called the Shy study, and this SHAI clearly showed that the Atkins diet was superior, slightly superior to Mediterranean, and much more superior to the plant based diet. So, as a scientist, I had to honor that. And then when it comes to the timing of your father's heart disease, people may, you know, check this episode out and say, man, he was so young at, 55. But I can tell you, my father in law and my stepdad had their heart disease, heart attacks, 56 and 57. And when you're 54, like me, that resonates, right? So for anybody listening or watching, listen, this can happen at young ages, which is why all of us should have a coronary artery calcium score test just to see where you stand currently. That's the best test, best value proposition to figure out where you stand. I'll actually be. I know there's a CrossFit Health YouTube channel, and I'll actually be doing a webinar with them in a month or so. I think they're really doing a great job. I don't exercise that intensely, but I do try to do some bands and things like that at least twice a week. So it just sounds like you have done a lot of things that have really changed your life. Now, it's hard to imagine that in March of this year, I'm looking at you for those who are on YouTube. You look at this guy and he looks like he's not, struggling with his weight at 300 pounds. So, what was the amount of weight loss that you lost in this? This is not a long time period. So, what were you and what are you now in terms of your weight?
So I was at 311. This was March 25th of this year. As of today, I checked the scale. I'm at 241 now. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm at 241. So it's almost 70 pounds that I've lost since
That's
March.
insane.
Yeah, since March. And I was like,
That's
yeah,
insane.
I'm right at 241 now. Uh,
Wow.
and
That's inspiring. I mean, because a lot of people, again, everybody has a certain amount of intensity they're going to bring to this when they start, but knowing that that's possible, um, if you had a favorite, something you wanted to wear, you certainly be able to wear it now. So,
yeah,
you know, so that is now in terms of we know vegan could be a challenge. I think any change in diet could be a challenge. What's the easiest and the hardest part of this dietary pattern, this carnivore dietary pattern that you've experienced so far? What's the easiest and hardest?
so the easiest part for me is knowing what I'm going to eat. It's meat. I mean, pretty much meat and
Right.
fat. The hardest part is knowing what to eat. And another hard part of it is that it keeps me so satiated that I feel like I'm not eating enough. Because I'm always full on this. I'm not having to snack all the time. So I'm feeling like, well, maybe I'm not eating enough, you know. But, I guess when you've been brought up to think that you're supposed to eat 3 meals a day, you're supposed to snack in between that time. Of
Hmm.
course, you're gonna have those type of feelings like, okay, maybe I need to be eating, but you know, it's been a big benefit to me not eating. You know, and I eat when I get hungry, and I'm done.
Yeah. And what's cool about that is so convenient, um, to not have to worry about food. Like if I have to speak somewhere, I don't really have to worry about eating. I can eat, and sometimes I don't eat on purpose just to keep my mind clear. But I'm gonna tell you, man, it's people who haven't experienced this, they won't believe it's real. Like they can't imagine not being hungry.
Yeah,
They just can't imagine it. And then once you have that experience, you're like, oh my God, I have to literally schedule food in order to make sure I eat because I'll go through lunch and not even think
yeah.
about it.
It's just like second nature. I mean, I was skip. Man, I hadn't eaten since yesterday. I'm really that's how I am. I'm like, okay, and it's so amazing to me that I can even be like that. It's like
Hmm.
I'm used to eating, and I was the type that when I ate something, if it was good, I keep eating. I keep it. I don't have any kind of discipline or to stop myself from eating. And now I just don't even think about eating anymore. So
Yeah. You've turned into a lion, a
yeah,
tiger. They eat twice a week. They eat
yeah,
well when they eat, but they eat the essential nutrients, the protein and the fat. And because they eat that way, they do really
right.
well. So I'm really happy to see your transformation. Medical conditions typically get better when you lose that much weight. So what medical conditions did you have that you're not, having as big of a problem with so
So
far?
I was on blood pressure medicine for since I was 35 years old. I'm 45 now. Um,
Wow.
and I was on blood pressure medicine, and I completely got off my medicine. I'm
Hmm.
off my blood pressure medicine. It only took a few months. I never wanted to take medication my whole life. And when the doctor put me on my blood pressure medicine, I'm like, what can I do to get off of this medication? Of course, my doctor didn't know because they don't know about teaching about nutrition. They don't know anything about that.
Mm-mm.
So he's like, well, exercise, lose weight. How? That's the only thing that that's the only thing that you can tell me. So when I started this diet, my blood pressure just don't it stabilized. It stabilized, and so now I found a doctor now who told me she wanted to try me without my blood pressure medicine. I've been without it
Hmm.
since July.
Man.
Yeah,
So no more copays, no more side effects. And I'll be honest, I applaud your doctor. Some doctors, even when you improve, some doctors will wait until you're having like, near syncopal episodes where you're about to pass out before they'll take you off medicine. But so doctors have to be trained on how to deprescribe, and they're not.
yeah.
So I appreciate your doctor for allowing you to take that journey.
Well, it's a new doctor
I
that
just
I'm
love
with
that.
now. The doctor that I was with before, when I first started this diet, and back in June, I went to her and she did a lipid panel for me.
Hmm.
And so she did the lipid panel, and my LDL was raised.
Of course. Right.
But without even calling me to tell me anything, she immediately put me on a statin.
Mm.
Just put me on a statin. Never asked me what I was doing or anything like that. And everything that I've heard about a statin, that's not a medication that I want to be on. And so
Hmm.
I left that doctor after that. I
Hmm.
stopped and went to that doctor, and I found a doctor who is educated on metabolic health and the keto diet, and don't think it's just a bad demon out here trying to kill people. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that research. For those who are still looking in your area, the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners, Low Carb USA, Diet Doctor, the metabolic multiplier. Those are three sites that come to mind. They all have search engines for clinicians who have that extra training. So I would go to their website, search for that, and use that as a guide. And we're not trying to, ask people to leave their doctors. What we're really trying to do is to ask them to partner with their doctor. If their doctor's not willing to partner with them, because they think you're going crazy because you're doing carnivore, ketovore, low carb, or keto, then you may need a doctor who has updated information. I don't blame any doctor who's going by outdated information, but the new data suggests that, in the Shy study, by the way, that study is old. It's not like new. It's been around, probably in the early 2000s. Um, so I think Dr. Chris Gardner is the one who was, another, some of the authors. So, man, let me tell you, it's we have a lot of work to do, and I think if one of the advantage of the coronary artery calcium score test is that test will provide data. So if the American Heart Association is saying if you have a zero calcium score, you don't need to be on a statin, right? And that's for diabetics. So it's certainly true for people who are not
Yeah.
diabetic. So if you're trying to sell this idea as a patient, get a coronary artery calcium score test. Maybe, Dr. Eric Westman has a video, Doctors Listen Up. And that Doctors Listen Up video may be a good one to share with your doctor, which kind of updates some of the information the clinician should know. There are other tests that are more valuable than the LDL cholesterol, like the uh, apolipoprotein beta ratio, triglycerides to HDL ratio. If that triglyceride to HDL ratio is less than 2, it probably doesn't matter what your LDL is saying. If your LDL is broken down into particle sizes, as long as you don't have too many small particles, it's probably okay. So there's updated things, and those are the things I would share with the clinician if I was a patient. So now, in terms of your future, you're doing really well with your diet, and we're trying to say, where are you going to land? Are you going to stay carnivore? Are you going to do a ketovore, which is less than 10? So how are you thinking about that approach? Because some people will eat plants that they tolerate and avoid the other plants. Other people just stick with carnivore because they just don't feel good unless they do that. So how are you thinking about the long-term strategy for your diet?
So I'm thinking I'm going to just cycle in and out of carnivore and ketovore. Mostly carnivore because carnivore is the ultimate elimination diet, and so when you do that, you can start introducing stuff back into your diet to see what affects you. So I know that when I went full carnivore, and then I would try some dairy. I do have an issue with eczema, and when I tried dairy, I had an eczema flare up. You know, and there's certain types of dairy, not all dairy. Like if I do heavy cream, I break out. Or but if I do just like a regular aged cheese, something like that, it's no effect. Um, I experiment with some vegetables. I don't think I'm ever going to go back to the standard American diet, but I always do try out some vegetables to see how it affects me. But um,
That's fair.
most I'll just cycle in and out doing, um, adding some vegetables here and there, and then when I want to like cut or get to a certain weight, then I just go back to carnivore since I do it.
That's right. I like that. That's kind of where I'm at. I there are I like animals more than anything. Periodically, I want to eat my cauliflower mac and cheese. So what I do is I tend to, like last night I just had a steak. I didn't have anything else. I tend to be carnivore mostly, and I tend to eat vegetables periodically. I think the message that I like to share with people: listen to your body and tweak it to what your needs are, but don't get caught up in the carnivore cult. Don't get kind of caught up in the vegan cult. It's okay to deviate from that particular dietary pattern periodically, as long as the things you deviate from are not harming you. When it comes to dairy, we find that fermented dairy tends to be more tolerated because a lot of times you're kind of getting rid of that lactose, that sugar, and most of us don't have lactase to break it down anyways, particularly in communities of color. So your body will tell you what you shouldn't be eating, right? Now, some people will say, you know what, I'll take a little eczema flare because I'm at grandmama's house and she knows she can cook. So sometimes you'll break the rules to enjoy, but you got to know what the outcome's going to be, and are you willing to pay that price? Probably won't kill you, but it may not make you feel great. There's certain things I just can't tolerate because I had an irritable bowel that got me on this journey, and I know that if I eat dressing, um, I'm gonna probably have problems. It's so
It
rich,
is
right?
very. It's one of my
Uh, but yeah, it's the
favorites.
delicious food. Now, the other thing about dressing that I now understand is that it's bread, and bread is processed food. So my brain is not looking at dressing as some type of health food anymore. It's like, well, it's processed food. If you have it, it's okay, but understand what you're eating, and if you're sensitive like I am, what price you're going to be paying. So I think that's all important. Your family has seen this transformation, this 70+ pound transformation. I'm going to put you and Dr. Anthony Chafee on a billboard because y'all got the body now, right? so, um, so what are they saying about this transformation? How are they reacting? Your partner as well. How is he reacting?
So, as far as my family, I just went to Houston last week, and I met up with a lot of my family members, and they saw me, and they like amazed in my transformation. And all they want to do now is pick my brain on what to do and how to do it. And so I'm more than happy to help them. I'm more than happy. I've been checking in with my family members. They text me back and forth, hey, is this okay to eat? So they're very inspired by it. Now, as far as my partner, he's very supportive. He doesn't have this problem. He can eat stuff, and his metabolism is just through the roof. But he also knows how to stop eating when he's had enough. I can't do that. So he's very supportive of me. He said that he just likes the fact that I am putting my health first, and that's the best thing
Hmm.
that I could ever experience that because he you have to have that support there. You have to have that support there, and
Yeah,
he's very supportive of me in this journey.
that's it's good to have a partner who's got your back. I always tell patients that no matter what your metabolism is saying, no matter how easy it is for you to maintain your weight, get a calcium score test because we want to make sure what we see on the outside is
On the
on the
inside,
inside, right? So that's really important. And I also want to mention what you said. You said, I just can't do it because some of us have a little bit of a carb addiction or processed food addiction, and we need to honor that. So that means that we have to be more
yeah,
thoughtful about the things that we consume, and if we're gonna, we talked about, if you want to eat the dressing, fine, but if you eat the dressing and it triggers you, then you may not want to eat the dressing. And my mom already knows where I'm at. She remembers those nights when I would be up in the middle of the night, usually around 2 in the morning, stomach cramping, spending a couple hours in the bathroom, and having to go to school or work, the next day. It's not fun. So those days are gone, and I just love the fact that I don't have to suffer. And when you go through that type of experience, you think that's just your life, and it's always going to
I
be that way.
had
And it's just nice to know
I
that.
had acid reflux, horrible. I had a
Mm,
very bad acid reflux, and that is gone. I used to wake up
gone.
in the middle of the night, felt like someone was choking me. I would wake up
Hmm.
and I would be vomiting. I mean, sorry to be talking about it, but I would vomit.
That's
It was horrible. And with me, just changing the way you eat can do so much for you. It just changes your life. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to worry about, Getting sick every time I eat something, or if I eat a tomato, I'm going to be choking in the middle of the night. Those things, like, those are the benefits that I am most excited about with eating this way.
It's nice to have that. Like before I got my master's in nutrition, I didn't know what a nightshade was, and that's the tomatoes, one of the things in that category, things that can cause inflammation and increase your risk for things like rheumatoid arthritis. I didn't the knowledge that, oh, the tomato's acidic, it can flare up your reflux, all of those little things we could actually heal ourselves or at least avoid the things that harm us if we just had a little knowledge. That's why those influencers are so important, just to put those little nuggets in our head so we can think about things that we hadn't thought about otherwise. Now I know you exercise because you clearly work out, but what are talk a little bit about were you exercising before you lost weight and what other activities are you doing now that you've lost 70
So
pounds?
I stayed in the gym. I didn't know what to do. Just there exercising just to, you know, feel like to lose weight. And that me learning now that being in the gym does not help you lose weight, and it does not
Right.
help you lose weight at all. But now, since I've lost the weight, I work out with a trainer once a week. I get up and I run now, where I couldn't run at all. I get up and run maybe 2 to 3 times a week, and then I go to my trainer once a
Mm.
week now. Yeah,
That's nice. So you're running, and that was not an
it
option
was not an option.
70 pounds
No, it
ago.
was not an option. I would go
Yeah,
walking. I would do walks and stuff, but now I'm running. I would get up and run, and I just feel so good now. I just feel so good.
that's I love that. Um, so you have these people who have influenced you. I had Dr. Kim Berry on my podcast. I had the Black Carnivore. I haven't had Thomas DeLauer yet, but they've influenced you. They all have a different like style. When you think about each of those people, what about their styles that you like about it that resonates with you?
So with Thomas DeLauer, he breaks down everything. He's kind of very like that nerdy sciencey stuff about intermittent
Yeah, he
fasting,
is that.
intermittent fasting, and all of
He
that. So I like that about him. So I go there, and if I want to learn anything about intermittent fasting, I go to Thomas DeLauer. Dr. Kim Berry is
cool.
so matter of fact. He just tells you like it is, and he's just straightforward about it. And that's what I appreciated about him. He makes it so easy that
Mhm.
that you can't even believe that it's that simple to lose weight. Just listening to how he interprets stuff, and um, listening to Edie. Edie, she brought the black community, like I said before, she brought the black community into the conversation. And that's those three benefits I get from those three people molded how I am now when I approach my diet, because, you know, they help me. I feel like these are my new heroes now because they helped me so much
Yeah,
in my journey. So
yeah, and they are that. I I met A Day in person at KetoCon this year because, we've been kinda on lockdown because of the pandemic. I have not met Ken Berry in person yet, but that'll be, I'm sure, at one of the upcoming conferences next year. Um, I definitely love the, scientific approach
yeah,
Thomas puts out there. He's like and, he's able to show it with visuals. All of that stuff's excellent. So I think they all do a great job. And again, I'm happy that we have all of them out there doing this work. So when I think about you and how you've restored your health, what goals do you have, rather professionally, health related? What's on the horizon for you moving
so
forward?
I want to just help as many people as I can. That is my goal now. I'm not looking for any type of monetary benefit. I want people to reach out to me, especially from my hometown. I want them to reach out to me and
Mhm.
let me explain to them, because it's so many people in my hometown die very young of heart attacks, diabetes, and cancer. Those are the three things that's taking people out in my hometown. And I want to just educate them. I encourage people, just reach out to me, message me, do anything, and I will help you. But you have to be willing to listen too. you know, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. You can tell them about it, and I can post as many videos as I can or tell people about my journey, but you have to want to do it. And I just right now I feel so good. I just want to help somebody. If I can just help one person, I would feel good about that. You know,
Yeah.
because it's just amazing how the benefit of it. Yes, I lost weight. That's good. That's great. But the mental health that you get from doing it, it's a
Mm.
better life for me. I'm happy all the time. And I want people to feel like I feel. And so I'm willing to help somebody, and that's my journey now. That's what I want to do. I feel like I found a calling now.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost like your life purpose has been redefined, and you can't experience this and not wanna
Yeah,
share it. Um, that happiness, though, is pretty impressive because it affects everybody around you. No matter if I'm at work or as I interact with my family, if I'm happier, then they're gonna more likely be
exactly.
happier. If they're down, I can kinda lift them up, but it's hard to do that if you're kinda in a funky place, so I just think that's the benefits are just beyond what we can define with
Yeah,
words, but I'm just happy that you're spreading that good news, and people will
yeah,
come to you. That's another piece of advice. You don't have to go and evangelize. They will come to you when they see. So we can like we can be mentors. We don't have to coach anybody. Just be available to say, "Hey, I'm here. If you want to learn more, I'm here." And who wouldn't want to share the healing message that this approach
yeah.
allows? So I really appreciate all of that, and I also want to ask you about your future as it relates to the Nest in a Rope acronym, and over the next 12 months, where are you going to put your most attention? Anything that you're really looking to give extra attention moving
Just
forward?
exercising more. I'm definitely want to do that more. I want to try to run a marathon. I'm going to train for that. And just being happy, just being the best person I can be. With this newfound um, persona that I put on. Because of
Mhm.
the weight loss and because of the way of eating and the education that I provide to myself. I just want to be the best me possible. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, it sounds like you need to hook up with Michelle Hearn, I think it was the dietitian's dilemma, but she's a carnivore runner, and Michelle Hearn would be a good person. So if you run into some challenges, she's been running forever, so she probably been there, done that already. So that would be a good person to connect with and follow as well. And speaking of that, if people want to connect with you and follow your success, how would they
So the
connect
best
with you?
place to reach me is Instagram. Audacious_Bates is my handle. Um, I've already had people like they DM me asking me questions. Just DM me, ask me whatever you like. If I don't get back to you that day, I will read it and I will get back to you and I will let you know whatever it is that you want to know as it relates to this way of eating and this diet. So,
Nice. We'll wrap up with that. Any final thoughts before we conclude that you would like to share with the audience?
um, just know your why. Know your why you're doing something. Um, it literally took a picture for me to look at and changed my life completely. And by doing so, I found purpose and I found something that I want to continue to do and help other people to do. And if you know your why, then that's the first step in starting your journey, just knowing why you're doing it.
Yeah, totally agree. And I definitely think that's one of the things I ask my patients to do. And I ask anybody who's checking us out today to do the same. And once you know your why, it's so much easier to get up every day and to continue your journey. So I appreciate you, man, just for coming to this episode,
Thank
Chuck,
you so
and excited about your
thank
future.
you
Yeah,
so
this
much.
is this is good stuff. So let's keep doing it. Yeah, keep doing your thing. I can't wait to get this episode out. So appreciate you and
Thank
enjoy,
you
my
so much.
brother. All right. So, and for those who are checking this out today, I hope you enjoyed another inspirational story of transformation. And, you know, if knowing your life expectancy of, of where you live will provide some information, maybe take a moment and look that up. Maybe look it up and see what that means for you. That way you'll know exactly what you may be facing so that you can use that information to take action. I always ask my patients to consider any lifestyle changes as little experiments that each of us do until we find the best fit for our individual circumstances. So, if you have not gotten started on your healing journey, just pick a dietary pattern you're comfortable with and just get started. Maybe that's low carb, and if you're not getting results with that, maybe you'll transition to ketovore, or maybe even carnivore. Either way, anything other than the standard American diet will likely serve you much better. So, for all of you guys checking us out today, I appreciate you and thank you for being here with us today. And until we have another episode, continue to be safe, be well, and continue to protect your nest.